The sky above Earth was on fire. Not with sunlight or clouds, but with streaks of glowing ships cutting through the atmosphere like angry comets. Cities trembled under the distant thunder of alien war machines. Buildings swayed and glass shattered as sirens screamed across the streets. People ran, hiding wherever they could. For most, it was a day of terror. For Ryan, it was a day he had been preparing for his entire life. Ryan stood on the edge of the crumbling platform of the city's defense center. The wind whipped his hair into his eyes and dust filled his lungs, but he could not move. All around him, the walls of the city were cracking. Towering alien ships hovered overhead, their metallic skin shining in the sunlight like polished silver. The largest among them, a fortress-shaped flagship, seemed to drink the light of the sun, growing darker and more menacing as it descended toward the heart of the city. It was called the Sky Fortress by humans, though the name carried no pride. Only fear. Ryan's fingers gripped the edge of a control panel. He had spent weeks working on it, a defensive grid that could slow the alien advance just long enough for civilians to evacuate. The system was fragile and untested, but it was all he had. He pressed buttons and watched holographic screens flicker. Lines of energy spread across the city like invisible vines, forming a network of defenses meant to intercept the incoming ships. The first salvo of lasers hit the network and alarms blared. Sparks shot from the consoles and Ryan ducked just in time to avoid a stray arc of electricity. The ground shook. A deep rumble traveled beneath his feet, like the roar of a giant waking from centuries of sleep. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of scorched metal. Around him, people screamed, some running for the evacuation gates, others frozen in shock. But Ryan could not leave. He had to finish the work. The defensive grid needed him. A sudden flash of light drew his attention upward. A beam of energy struck the city square several blocks away. The ground erupted in fire and debris. He felt the heat even from his position, and a wave of fear ran through him. Despite the chaos, Ryan forced himself to focus. He tapped commands on the console with careful precision. Some of the beams from the alien ships were intercepted by his network, exploding into sparks before they could reach the streets. Other attacks were too fast, too powerful, and the city groaned under the pressure. Then, without warning, the ground beneath him cracked. Ryan stumbled as part of the platform collapsed, sending him sliding toward the edge. He barely caught himself on a rail, looking down at the ruins below. Smoke and fire filled the air, mixing with the screams of the fleeing civilians. A small group of soldiers ran past him, shouting orders and trying to coordinate evacuation. One of them glanced at Ryan, nodding in recognition. He knew the young engineer was the one responsible for the defense grid. Their eyes met, and Ryan saw the fear mirrored in the soldier's gaze. He swallowed it and nodded back. From above, a loud, commanding voice filled the sky. It was deep, resonant, and filled with authority. Every human within earshot stopped to listen. "Kneel, human," it said, clear as if the speaker stood beside them. Then the voice spoke again, softer but no less powerful. "Your resistance is meaningless." Ryan's heart skipped a beat. The voice belonged to Queen Valar, the ruler of the Threxian Empire. Her name was whispered in fear across every corner of the galaxy. She was said to command entire fleets with a single gesture, her mind sharp and cruel, unmatched by any human intellect. Seeing her in person would be terrifying. Hearing her speak to him directly made the air heavy. The Sky Fortress landed with a thunderous impact. Buildings trembled as if they were about to shatter under its weight. Dust and debris filled the streets. Ryan could see figures moving within the glowing windows of the ship, alien silhouettes that were tall and armored with sharp angles and smooth metallic skin. They were soldiers of the Threxian Empire, elite warriors trained for destruction. The city's defense grid struggled under the weight of their assault. Some sections held, sending energy beams crashing into incoming ships. Other sections failed, leaving blocks exposed to the aliens' deadly weapons. Ryan's hands shook as he worked, sweat dripping down his face, but he continued. Every second he delayed the alien advance was a second civilians could escape. He refused to give up even as fire and smoke surrounded him. Suddenly, a sharp vibration ran through the platform beneath him. He looked up to see a massive transport pod detaching from the Sky Fortress, descending rapidly toward his position. A shadow fell over him as the pod landed with a shockwave that knocked him to the ground. Before he could react, the pod's doors opened with a hiss. Aliens stepped out, their movements precise, almost graceful, but filled with menace. Ryan felt his breath catch. One of the aliens moved forward, taller than the rest, her presence commanding attention. Her skin gleamed like polished metal, her eyes sharp and intelligent. She wore a crown-like structure on her head, and her armor was unlike any human design, smooth yet strong. This was Queen Valar herself. She walked with a grace that made the soldiers around her seem slow. She looked down at Ryan, her gaze piercing. "Do you kneel before me?" she asked, her voice calm but powerful. Ryan did not answer. Instead, he straightened, meeting her gaze. Fear surged in his chest, but he refused to show it. He had faced impossible odds before, and though she was terrifying, he could not bend to her command. Valar's eyes narrowed. She was about to speak again when a flicker of memory crossed her mind. Long ago, she had been stranded on a distant moon, her ship breaking apart, her soldiers at the mercy of the void. And then a human ship had appeared, arriving when no one else would. The humans had rescued her and her crew, their courage and determination saving her life. A name whispered through her memory. Ryan. Could it be the same human? Her hands relaxed slightly, though she did not take her eyes off him. The soldiers around her looked confused, uncertain. Valar raised her head, her posture straightening, and spoke again. "Release him," she commanded, her voice firm. The aliens froze. Soldiers exchanged glances, unsure if they had heard correctly. The queen was known for strict discipline, and no one had ever questioned her commands. Yet here she was, ordering them to release a human who had dared defy her. Slowly, carefully, they obeyed. Ryan blinked in disbelief as the soldiers stepped back, lowering their weapons. He had expected capture, imprisonment, or worse. This was something entirely different. He did not yet understand why she was letting him live, but he could sense a change in the air. Valar's eyes softened, though only slightly. "I remember you," she said. "You saved my life once. Now it is my turn." Ryan's mind raced. He did not know if she could be trusted, but he had learned long ago that survival sometimes required taking impossible chances. He nodded slowly, cautious but respectful. "I remember," he said. The queen studied him, her gaze sharp and calculating. For a moment, the air between them was heavy with unspoken understanding. Then she turned and gestured toward the ship. "Come, there is much to discuss." Ryan followed, his mind full of questions. The interior of the sky fortress was unlike anything he had imagined. Hallways glimmered with strange lights. Walls made of smooth metal curved seamlessly in impossible angles. Alien guards moved silently, their eyes scanning every corner. Rian felt the weight of history and power pressing against him. Valar led him to a room that seemed to pulse with energy. Maps of distant star systems and tactical displays covered the walls. She gestured for him to sit, and though Ryan hesitated, he obeyed. The queen stood before him, not as a ruler demanding obedience, but as a leader considering an ally. "The galaxy is changing," she said. "Threats rise in every corner, and now, we face a new challenge together." Ryan nodded, unsure what she meant, but sensing that the events unfolding were far larger than Earth, larger than any battle he had ever fought. Somehow, his choices in this moment could shape the fate of entire worlds. Outside, the city lay in ruin, and the aliens' fleet hovered, waiting. Inside the fortress, a human and an alien queen shared a fragile trust, a memory of courage that could tip the balance between destruction and survival. And in that moment, Ryan realized that even in the darkest days, courage and honor could shine brighter than any weapon. The interior of the sky fortress was unlike any place Ryan had ever seen. Smooth metal walls reflected the soft glow of alien lights, and the floor hummed faintly under his feet. The corridors were wide but curved in ways that seemed impossible. Every corner held shadows that shifted as if alive, and Ryan kept glancing around, half expecting danger to appear. He felt the weight of the alien empire pressing down on him. Despite the queen's unexpected mercy, he remained cautious. Queen Valar led him down a wide hallway. Her steps were measured and quiet, yet every soldier and officer they passed stepped aside instantly. Even though they were towering, armored, and dangerous, their respect for her was clear. The humans had legends about her, stories that described her power as unmatched in the galaxy. Yet here she walked calmly, in control of everything. Ryan noticed a series of large windows that looked out into the void. From here, the planet below looked tiny, fragile. Fire still burned across cities, smoke curling into the sky like dark fingers. He could see the alien ships hovering, waiting for orders. The sight made his stomach churn, but he held his ground. "Do you remember me?" Valar asked suddenly, her voice breaking the silence. Ryan blinked. He had expected commands or orders, not questions. I think so, he said cautiously. I remember helping a ship once. I think it was yours. Valar paused, turning her sharp eyes toward him. Yes, your human vessel came when no one else would. We were stranded on a crumbling moon and your crew rescued us. I have not forgotten that day. I remember your courage, your defiance of fear. You risked yourself to save lives. Ryan swallowed. He had never imagined that an alien queen would remember a single act of human bravery, yet the truth was there in her eyes. For a moment the air between them softened. He felt the tension ease just slightly, replaced with a strange sense of trust. But now the galaxy is at war, Valar continued, and our problems are far greater than one moon. I have my empire to protect and you have your planet. We are both under threat. I need your help, human. Ryan's mind raced. He had survived battles, crises, and disasters on Earth, but nothing prepared him for this. To work with the queen of the Threxians, the very species that had destroyed his cities, required more than courage. It required understanding. What can I do? He asked carefully, trying to hide his unease. Valar gestured toward a large holographic display. Star systems, fleets, and strange symbols filled the room. Lines of red and blue indicated movements, threats, and resources. Our fleet is in disarray, she explained. Some commanders question my decisions. They see my mercy toward you as weakness. Others plot against me openly. If they succeed, the galaxy will fall into chaos. I need someone who can think like a human, someone who sees solutions that others do not. Ryan stared at the display. The scale of the problem was overwhelming. I am just one person, he said. How can I help you with all of this? Valar's eyes were steady. One person can change the outcome of a battle. One decision can save thousands. Your actions once saved my life. Perhaps now they can save more than mine. For the first time, Rian realized the Queen's mercy was not just about gratitude. She saw his skills, his courage, and his determination as tools to shape the future. It was strange, almost unbelievable that the ruler of such a powerful empire would depend on a single human. Yet here he was, and he understood that refusal was not an option. Very well, he said finally. Tell me what to do. Valar nodded once, approvingly. First, you need to see the engine core. It has been damaged in the attacks. If we cannot stabilize it, we lose control of the fleet. The defenses will collapse and the rebels will strike. You must help repair it. The journey to the engine core was long. They moved through narrow corridors and open halls, past strange devices that hummed with energy. Rian tried to understand their function but could only guess at their purpose. The Threxians had technology far beyond human understanding, yet some of the principles were familiar. He focused on what he knew, hoping it would be enough. When they arrived, the room was vast and filled with glowing conduits. Energy crackled through the air, creating arcs of light that made the metal walls shimmer. At the center, a large core pulsed with unstable energy. Sparks flew across the floor and the hum of the engines was almost deafening. Valar gestured toward the control panel. Stabilize the energy flow. Prevent the overload. The fleet depends on it. Ryan's fingers flew across the controls. He examined readouts, adjusted energy channels, and rerouted power where needed. The core responded slowly, but it was a delicate process. One mistake could destroy the entire ship. Sweat dripped from his brow and his heart pounded, yet he remained focused. Valar watched him silently. She could feel the tension radiating from his body. But she also recognized the same determination she had seen years ago on that moon. Humans were fragile, yet their courage often exceeded their limits. Ryan was no different. After hours of careful adjustments, the core stabilized. The hum became steady, and the lights on the panel stopped flickering. Ryan exhaled, exhausted but relieved. The fleet was safe for now. You have done well, Valar said. Her voice was calm, almost approving. Few humans could handle this. Fewer would even try. Rian looked at her, unsure how to respond. Praise from an alien queen was not something he had ever expected. I did what I had to, he said simply. Valar nodded. And that is why I trust you. Our enemies are clever and ruthless. They underestimate humans, but you have a way of seeing beyond fear. That is a rare gift. As they walked back through the corridors, Ryan felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He had saved her once, but now the stakes were higher. His decisions could determine the fate of entire worlds. Yet for the first time, he felt a strange sense of purpose. He was not just a human in a collapsing world. He was someone who could make a difference. In the quiet moments, Valar shared stories of her past. She spoke of distant planets, of battles and alliances, of losses and victories. She was not cruel or merciless by choice, she explained, but by necessity. Leadership required decisions that few could understand. Rian listened fascinated. He began to see the person behind the queen, a being shaped by survival and duty, much like himself. At one point, they paused before a large observation window. The planet below was barely visible through the smoke and haze. Fires still burned in cities, and small resistance groups were hiding in the ruins. Valar turned to Rion. Your world is fragile, yet it survives. Humans fight even when the odds are impossible. That is why I remember you. That is why I trust you. Rion felt a mixture of pride and fear. He had never imagined that one act of courage could echo so far. Yet here it was, giving him the chance to stand beside an alien queen and shape the course of history. Hours passed as they planned the next steps. Valar outlined the threats to her throne, the movements of rival commanders, and the possible outcomes of each action. Rian absorbed the information, offering suggestions based on his understanding of human tactics. Some of his ideas surprised even the queen. She saw that human creativity and adaptability were strengths that her rigid empire often overlooked. As the day ended, Valar allowed Rion a moment of rest. He found a quiet chamber and sat, letting his mind wander. The memory of the moon rescue lingered in his thoughts. He had acted without expectation of reward or recognition, yet that simple act of courage had brought him here, into the heart of an alien empire. When he returned to Valar, she was waiting, her posture regal but calm. The galaxy is changing, she said. We face storms that will test both humans and Threxians alike. But if we work together, we can survive them. Rion nodded. Then we will try, he said, feeling the weight of responsibility but also a sense of hope. He realized that courage was not only about fighting. It was about standing firm when everything seemed lost, about trusting others even when trust seemed impossible. Outside the fortress, the stars shone cold and distant, but inside, two beings from different worlds began a fragile partnership. One memory of bravery had brought them together, and now the future depended on what they could achieve as allies. The Sky Fortress continued its silent orbit, a symbol of power and potential. And within its walls, Rian and Queen Valar prepared for the battles yet to come, knowing that courage, trust, and wisdom might be the only thing strong enough to shape the fate of the galaxy. The halls of the Sky Fortress were quiet, but the tension was heavy. Rian followed Queen Valar through twisting corridors and high archways that seemed to bend with the ship. Guards moved silently beside them, their armor gleaming under the soft alien lights. Every step reminded Rian that he was deep inside the heart of the Threxian Empire, a place humans had only heard of in fearful stories. Valar's face was calm, but her eyes were sharp, scanning every shadow. Rian could feel her thoughts like a current running just beneath the surface. She was planning, calculating, and judging, yet there was a hint of trust in the way she glanced at him from time to time. He had earned a place here, though he did not yet fully understand how fragile that trust was. We are not safe, Valar said quietly. Her voice echoed slightly against the smooth metal walls. The rebellion within my empire grows. Some of my commanders see mercy toward a human as weakness. Others openly plot against me. If they succeed, they will take control of the fleet and the galaxy will fall into chaos. Rion nodded. What can I do to help? He asked. The thought of helping an alien empire was strange, yet he understood the importance. If Valar fell, Earth might be lost too. Valar paused before a large observation window. Below them, smaller ships moved in strange patterns like insects swarming around a glowing center. Red and blue lights flashed across the surface of the fleet. These are my loyal forces, she said. But even loyalty can change with fear or ambition. That is why I need your perspective, human. You see possibilities others do not. Rion studied the fleet. His eyes scanned the positions, the energy flows, and the formations. Humans were used to thinking creatively, adapting quickly to change. That skill had kept his planet alive against impossible odds. Now it could help an alien empire survive as well. Valar turned toward him. We must move carefully. The rebels are clever and patient. They will not strike openly until they are sure of victory, but I can feel their presence. They are plotting even now. We must find them before they find us. Rian frowned. How do we find them? Their weakness is in coordination, Valar explained. I have trusted commanders who follow orders perfectly, but the rebels act secretly. They leave subtle traces, patterns that can be traced if someone watches carefully. I need your eyes, human. Watch for what others do not notice. For the next several hours, Ryan studied reports and fleet movements. Alien symbols and star charts were confusing at first, but he focused on patterns rather than details. Slowly, he began to see it. Unusual ship movements, small anomalies in energy distribution, shifts in command signals. He pointed them out to Valar, explaining his observations in clear, simple terms. Valar listened carefully, nodding occasionally. She did not interrupt, but her sharp eyes followed his every gesture. You see clearly, she said finally. Most of my commanders would overlook these signs. Yet you see them naturally. That is why I trusted you to survive earlier, and why I trust you now. Ryan felt a strange pride. Praise from an alien queen was unfamiliar, yet it strengthened his resolve. Then what do we do next? He asked. Valar moved toward the command deck. We act, she said. The rebels cannot be allowed to control the fleet. If they strike first, entire star systems could fall. We must prepare a counterstrike. The command deck was vast, filled with glowing panels, floating displays, and strange devices that Rion had never seen before. The sound of energy flowing through the ship was almost deafening, yet it was organized chaos. Valar moved among the controls as if she were born to command them. Ryan approached a panel that displayed fleet positions and energy lines. He studied the patterns carefully, his mind working quickly. He suggested adjustments, small shifts in energy distribution and ship alignment that might prevent the rebels from taking advantage of weak points. Valar considered his ideas carefully, then made subtle changes that reflected his input. The Queen and the human worked side by side, a strange partnership forming in the heart of the alien empire. Guards and officers watched silently, their respect and curiosity clear. Some whispered to each other, amazed that the Queen would take advice from a human. Others frowned, seeing it as a dangerous risk. Hours passed as they coordinated. Slowly, the signs of rebellion became clearer. A small group of ships moved in patterns that did not match the rest of the fleet. Their energy signals were slightly off, their commands subtly different. Ryan pointed them out. These are the rebels, he said. They are testing positions, waiting for an opening. Valar's eyes narrowed. Good. We now know where to focus. You will guide our strategy, human, and I will execute it. Together we will stop them before they strike. Ryan felt the weight of the moment. Lives depended on this decision, not just in the Empire, but on his home planet as well. He took a deep breath, focusing on clarity. We need to split the loyal forces, he said. Some will hold position to protect the fleet. Others will move to intercept the rebels. We can use their impatience against them. Valar nodded. It is a sound plan. Execute it. The next phase began. Energy lines pulsed across the fleet as ships shifted positions according to Ryan's suggestions. The rebels noticed and reacted, but it was too late. Their forces were divided by clever manipulation, and Valar's loyal commanders moved swiftly to block their advance. From the observation window, Ryan watched the small battles unfold. Ships darted like swift predators, dodging energy blasts and counterattacks. Despite the chaos, the fleet held together. The rebels were clever, but their impatience and lack of coordination worked against them. Valar stood beside him, calm and focused. Your insight saved lives today, she said. Few would have noticed these patterns in time. You have earned your place here. Ryan's chest swelled with a mix of pride and relief, yet he knew the fight was far from over. This was only one wave in a storm of threats that stretched across the galaxy. Still, he felt a new confidence. Together, he and Valar could face these storms. As the day wore on, another problem arose. One of Valar's most trusted commanders had begun to question her decisions openly. He was stationed in a nearby sector and had gathered followers who believed that trusting a human was foolish. Valar turned to Ryan. We must deal with him carefully. Open confrontation could lead to rebellion across multiple systems. Subtlety is required, Ryan thought quickly. We can isolate him, he suggested. Redirect his forces gradually without drawing attention. If we weaken his position first, he cannot gain support. Valar studied his idea, nodding slowly. Clever, it is human creativity. We will proceed. They worked through the night, adjusting fleet positions, sending coded messages, and monitoring energy flows. Slowly, the commander's influence waned as his forces were redirected subtly. Ryan's plan worked perfectly, and by morning the rebellion's reach was limited. Exhausted but satisfied, Rian and Valar paused in a quiet chamber. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the struggles of mortals and aliens alike. Valar turned to Ryan. "You see, human leadership is not only about strength. It is about observation, understanding, and timing. You have shown all three today." Ryan felt humbled. "I am only trying to help," he said. "I do not want anyone to be hurt, not here or on Earth." Valar's expression softened slightly. "And that is why I remember you. Courage without care is dangerous. Care without courage accomplishes nothing. You possess both." For the first time, Ryan felt that he and the Queen were more than allies out of necessity. They were partners in a delicate balance, a human and an alien ruler standing against chaos together. The thought gave him hope. Yet even as they spoke, distant signals indicated that other threats were moving. Across the galaxy, enemies watched, waiting for a chance to strike. The storm was far from over. Rian and Valar returned to the command deck, ready to face whatever came next. Together, they monitored the fleet, coordinated movements, and prepared defenses. Every decision mattered. Every moment was a test of courage, wisdom, and trust. In that quiet strength, Ryan realized something important. Humans were small, fragile, and limited, yet their courage and creativity could rival even the mightiest alien empire. His actions could change the outcome of battles, save lives, and perhaps even shape the future of worlds. Valar watched him closely, recognizing the truth in his determination. She had ruled for centuries, yet she had learned something new today. Trust, creativity, and courage could come from unexpected places. Even a single human could make a difference in the vastness of the galaxy. The Sky Fortress hummed with energy as it moved through space, carrying its fragile alliance between worlds. Outside, the stars were endless and threats awaited in silence. Inside, a human and an alien queen prepared for what was coming, knowing that the storms between worlds were only beginning, and that together, they might survive them. The Sky Fortress moved silently through space, its massive hull reflecting the distant glow of stars. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. Queen Valar and Ryan stood together on the command deck, watching the fleet below. Every movement of the ships, every flash of energy was critical. Outside the fortress, the rebels were regrouping, preparing for a strike that could destroy everything. Ryan studied the holographic display of the fleet. Tiny dots represented ships, each one moving with precision. But among them, small anomalies flickered, indicators of the rebels' hidden positions. He pointed them out to Valar. "They are concentrated here and here," he said, tracing lines across the display. "They plan to attack from multiple directions at once." Valar's eyes narrowed. "They hope to catch us off guard," she said. "But we are not unprepared." She gestured, and the loyal commanders moved in perfect synchronization, their ships adjusting formations to create defensive corridors. The key is to hold the center while diverting their attacks. The first strike came without warning. Energy beams shot across space, crashing into the loyal ships. Explosions lit the void, shaking the fortress with their impact. Ryan gripped the edge of the command panel, feeling the vibration through his fingertips. Alarms blared, red lights flashing across the deck. The rebels were bold, but they had underestimated Valar's preparation. "Divert power to the shields," Valar ordered calmly. "Ryan, adjust the energy distribution to reinforce the weaker points now." Ryan's hands flew across the controls. He redirected power from non-critical systems, stabilizing the shields around the vulnerable sections of the fleet. Sparks danced along the consoles, and the hum of energy filled the air. The fortress responded to his commands, and the defensive corridors held firm. Outside, the loyal ships counterattacked. Smaller vessels darted forward, striking rebel ships before they could regroup. The battlefield became a blur of light and motion. Every movement mattered. Every decision could tip the balance. Valar turned to Ryan. "You will guide the intercept teams," she said. "Your insight into strategy is our advantage. Watch their patterns, predict their moves." Ryan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. He monitored the displays, analyzing energy pulses, ship trajectories, and communication signals. Slowly, he began to see the rebels' plan. They aimed to split the fleet, isolate key ships, and strike the fortress directly. "Focus on the leaders," he said. "If we remove them from the fight, the rest will scatter." Valar agreed. She sent a small squadron under the command of her most trusted captain, using Rion's guidance to intercept the rebel leaders. The ships moved like shadows, fast and precise. Energy beams flashed, and one by one, the rebel leaders were disabled or forced to retreat. The loyal fleet gained ground, but the battle was far from over. The rebels had hidden reserves, ships cloaked in stealth technology that made them almost invisible. Villar's sharp mind tracked them with Rion's help, and together they predicted where the next strike would come. "Here," Rion said, pointing to a dark section of space. "They will emerge here. If we place the intercept squadron now, we can stop them before they reach the center." Villar acted immediately, sending ships to the location. Within moments, the rebels were trapped in a crossfire. Explosions erupted as beams struck their cloaked vessels. Sparks and energy arcs lit the dark void. The rebels struggled, but the loyal fleet held strong, guided by the human who had once saved the queen. As the battle raged, a new threat appeared. One of the rebel commanders had taken a hidden path toward the fortress itself. Villar's eyes narrowed. "They aim for the command deck," she said. "If they succeed, they could disable the core systems." Rion's heart pounded. "We cannot let them reach the fortress. I can help reroute power and prepare defenses." Villar nodded. "Do it. I will hold the deck." Rion moved quickly, manipulating the energy flows. He activated defensive barriers, rerouted auxiliary power, and reinforced the outer hull. The fortress shuddered as beams struck, but the shields held. Sparks flew across the panels and lights flickered under the pressure. Then alarms screamed. The rebels had breached the outer defense perimeter. Small boarding pods detached from their ships and flew toward the fortress. Villar's soldiers readied themselves, weapons glowing as they prepared to intercept. Rion worked rapidly. "Redirect power to the magnetic locks," he shouted. "Seal all non-critical access points." The doors of the fortress clanged shut as magnetic fields activated. The boarding pods slammed against the barriers, unable to penetrate. Villar's soldiers moved with precision, disabling the pods and capturing the rebels inside. The queen turned to Rion. "Your actions saved us. This is why I remembered your courage. A single human can make the difference in impossible situations." Rion shook his head, exhausted but alert. "We did this together. I just helped guide the flow. You commanded the fleet." Villar's expression softened slightly. "Perhaps, but even the best plans require someone to see what others cannot. That is your gift." The battle continued for hours. The rebels regrouped, striking with new strategies, but Rion and Villar anticipated each move. Ships were disabled, retreats forced, and the loyal fleet gradually gained control of the battlefield. The command deck shook from distant explosions, yet the focus inside never wavered. Finally, the rebels' reserves were depleted. The remaining ships scattered, fleeing to unknown regions of space. The loyal fleet held the field, and the fortress remained unscathed. Villar exhaled, her posture relaxing slightly. Rion leaned against a console, catching his breath. "It is over. For now," he said. Villar nodded. "For now. But the galaxy will not wait. Others will see weakness where we have mercy. Others will test our strength." Rion studied her. "Then we will be ready." Villar walked to the observation window. Below, the throne world lay in view, planets and moons shimmering in the distance. Fires still burned in some cities, but the loyal forces would help restore order. The queen turned to Rion. "Your people are small, fragile, and limited in numbers. Yet they possess something powerful, courage and creativity. That is why I trust you." Rion felt a mix of pride and humility. "I do what I can," he said. "I cannot do everything alone." Villar stepped closer. "No one can. That is why we work together. Strength alone is not enough. Unity, trust, and courage matter more than raw power." The calm was brief. Sensors detected a new anomaly, a fleet approaching from beyond the edge of the system. Villar's eyes sharpened. "Another challenge," she said. "Perhaps an ally or another enemy. We must investigate." Rion moved to the panel. "It is massive. Too large to be a single fleet. Their formation is different from the rebels. I cannot tell if they are friend or foe yet." Villar nodded. "Prepare our defenses. Alert the fleet. We do not wait for danger to arrive. We meet it head-on." The sky fortress hummed with energy as preparations began. Ships moved into defensive positions. Energy lines pulsed across the fleet, and soldiers readied themselves. Rion adjusted systems, monitoring the approaching fleet. Every decision mattered. Every moment could change the course of the coming battle. As they worked, Valar spoke quietly. "You have done more than save a city today, Ryan. You have helped save an empire, perhaps even the galaxy. Your courage has ripple effects far beyond what you see." Ryan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "Then I will continue," he said. "I will do everything I can to help." Valar's gaze softened. "And that is why you stand beside me, human. You are not just a helper. You are a partner. Together we face the storms between worlds." Outside the fortress, stars stretched endlessly, cold and silent. Inside, the Queen and the human prepared for the next wave of challenges, knowing that unity, courage, and strategy were their only weapons against the storms to come. The battle over the throne world was far from over, but for now the loyal fleet held. The Sky Fortress remained a beacon of hope in the chaos of the galaxy. And in the heart of that beacon, a human and an alien queen stood together, ready to face whatever fire lay ahead. The calm after the battle was deceptive. Though the rebel fleet had been defeated and the loyal forces held the throne world, the galaxy was far from safe. Threats waited in the darkness of space, alliances shifted with ambition, and even Valar's closest commanders whispered doubts about her trust in a human. Ryan knew that their greatest challenge was still ahead. The Sky Fortress orbited the throne world like a sentinel. Inside, Valar moved through the command deck with calm authority. Her presence was commanding, yet there was a tension in the air that only she and Rian could sense. Every officer, every soldier watched them closely, waiting for orders and perhaps for signs of weakness. Ryan stood beside her, hands on the railing, eyes scanning the fleet. The human perspective gave him clarity. He saw patterns, risks, and possibilities that even the most experienced alien commanders could overlook. Valar glanced at him, a faint smile on her face. She had learned to trust him, and now she depended on that trust more than ever. "Another threat approaches," she said, pointing to the sensor displays. A fleet moved at high speed from beyond the outer systems. It was unlike the rebels, larger and more organized with powerful energy signatures that could destroy a planet's defenses. Ryan studied the formation. "It is an entire armada. They move in perfect coordination. If they attack the throne world, we could lose everything." Valar nodded. "Then we do not wait. We prepare and strike first. You will guide our defenses, human." Ryan felt a surge of determination. He had trained, fought, and survived impossible odds. This was the moment to prove that humans could face even the mightiest threats of the galaxy. He moved quickly, analyzing energy flows, fleet formations, and strategic weak points. Every decision mattered. Every second counted. The loyal commanders murmured among themselves. Many questioned Valar's choice to rely on a human, but she ignored the whispers. Her eyes were fixed on the approaching threat, and she knew that courage and insight were more important than hierarchy. "We will divide the fleet into 2 groups," Ryan said, pointing at the displays. "One will defend the throne world directly. The other will move to intercept the armada before they reach our systems. We can use their size against them." Valar considered the plan. "Clever," she said. "Execute it." Ships moved into position, energy lines pulsed across the fleet, and the Sky Fortress braced for impact. Ryan adjusted systems in real time, redistributing power to shields and weapons. Sparks danced across the consoles as energy surged through the fortress. He could feel the strain, the pressure of responsibility, yet he did not waver. The first clash came suddenly. Energy beams shot across space, colliding with shields, sending explosions into the void. The loyal fleet returned fire, striking the enemy armada with precision. Ships were disabled, retreats forced, yet the enemy pressed forward relentlessly. Valar's voice rang out over the command deck. "Focus on the leaders," she ordered. "Remove their command and the rest will scatter." Ryan's hands flew over the controls. He identified the enemy commanders, predicting their movements and guiding the loyal fleet toward interception points. Small squads of ships darted forward like predators, striking with speed and precision. Explosions lit the darkness of space as enemy vessels were disabled one by one. Despite their success, the armada was vast. New ships continued to appear from hidden sectors. Valar and Ryan worked together seamlessly, coordinating attacks and defenses. Each decision was critical. Each action determined the survival of thousands. Then a warning sounded. A group of enemy ships had broken through the outer perimeter, heading straight for the Sky Fortress. Valar's eyes narrowed. They aimed for the command deck. We cannot let them succeed, Ryan moved quickly. Prepare the secondary shields. Activate the magnetic barriers along the main access points. We stop them here. The fortress shuddered as energy beams struck. Sparks flew along the panels. Alarms blared and soldiers braced for impact. The boarding pods detached from the enemy ships, speeding toward the walls. Velar's soldiers moved like a single organism, intercepting the pods before they could breach. Ryan adjusted the energy flow, reinforcing weak points. The magnetic barriers pulsed and the pods slammed against them, unable to penetrate. Velar directed the defense with precision, moving among the soldiers, her presence commanding yet inspiring. After hours of intense fighting, the enemy armada began to scatter. Their commanders had been disabled, their formations broken, and their morale shattered. The loyal fleet maintained its positions and the Sky Fortress remained intact. The throne world was safe, at least for the moment. Velar turned to Ryan. "You have done more than I imagined," she said. Her voice was calm yet filled with genuine respect. "Your courage, insight, and determination have saved thousands. You have proven that humans are more than they seem." Ryan shook his head, exhausted but resolute. "I did what I could. We did this together." Velar smiled faintly. "Yes, together. That is the lesson my empire must learn. Strength is not only in power or numbers. It is in trust, unity, and courage." As the fleet settled into position, a challenge arose from within Velar's own command. A loyal commander, jealous of Ryan's influence, demanded that the human kneel before the queen as a sign of submission. Soldiers froze, unsure how to respond. Velar's eyes blazed. She stepped forward, tall and unyielding. "No," she said firmly. "No one who has saved my life and defended this empire will kneel." "Not today. Not ever." The commander's face turned pale. Murmurs spread among the officers. Velar's voice echoed across the deck. "This human stands beside me, not beneath me. Courage and loyalty matter more than tradition. Remember that." Ryan felt a wave of relief and pride. He had never sought recognition, yet the Queen's declaration made him a symbol. It was proof that courage, even from the smallest of humans, could change the course of empires. Outside, the stars seemed calmer, though threats still lurked in distant systems. The Sky Fortress remained a beacon of hope and strength. Inside, Velar and Ryan continued to plan, knowing that vigilance and wisdom were their greatest weapons. In the following days, the throne world began to stabilize. The loyal fleet patrolled nearby systems, ensuring that rebel remnants could not regroup. Citizens began to rebuild, inspired by the courage displayed in the battle above. Ryan's presence, once a point of doubt for some, became a symbol of hope and unity. Velar worked alongside him, listening to his insights, valuing his judgment, and acknowledging the strength of human determination. The partnership between alien queen and human had become a force that could shape the future. One evening, Ryan stood at the observation window, watching the stars stretch endlessly into space. Velar joined him, silent for a moment, observing the calm of the galaxy after the storm. "You have changed how I see humans," she said quietly. "I once thought them fragile, limited, and unpredictable. But courage, determination, and insight, these are strengths that even empires cannot ignore." Ryan nodded. "We are small, yes, but we fight with everything we have. That is how we survive." Velar's gaze softened. "And that is why you stand beside me. Not as a subject, not as a tool, but as a partner. Together we protect this empire, this galaxy, and even your world. Courage and unity can achieve what strength alone cannot." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then we continue together." The Sky Fortress hummed with life. Ships moved in formation across the throne world's orbit, and the loyal commanders followed their queen's orders with renewed determination. The galaxy remained vast and unpredictable. Yet inside the fortress, humans and aliens had proven that courage, trust, and collaboration could face even the greatest threats. News of the human who stood beside the alien queen spread across the galaxy. Stories reached distant systems, inspiring hope and challenging old prejudices. Humans once underestimated were now seen as beings capable of courage, creativity, and honor. Ryan's actions had changed not only one planet but the perception of an entire species. Velar and Ryan continued to work together, planning defenses, stabilizing the empire, and preparing for challenges yet to come. The battles were not over, but the foundation of trust, courage, and unity had been laid. Together, they would face whatever storms arose in the galaxy. And in that unity there was a lesson that echoed across worlds. Courage is not measured by size, strength, or species. It is measured by the willingness to act when all seems lost, to protect others, and to stand firm beside those who fight for what is right. Rian realized that this was more than survival. It was hope. It was the truth that even the smallest human with courage and wisdom could change the fate of empires. Velar had learned this, and so had the galaxy. As the stars glimmered, the Sky Fortress continued its orbit, a shining beacon in the dark expanse of space. Within it, a human and an alien queen stood together, a symbol of trust, courage, and partnership. They were proof that even in the vastness of the galaxy, humanity's spirit could shine brighter than any weapon, brighter than any fear, brighter than any darkness. And for the first time in centuries, Queen Velar felt certain of one truth: no one would kneel who had saved her. The human who had once risked his life for hers now stood beside her as an equal, a partner, and a symbol of the courage that could unite worlds.